The introduction of new rules regarding equal opportunities for girls, allowing them to participate in all sports, had consequences not envisioned by the writers of that law. At higher levels, separate but equal worked, but in the lower levels, well, it wasn't so good. For example, any girl could try out for the team, and if she was good enough, she had to be included. But Title X did not change any of the rules regarding personal protection, so every girl, for example, was forced to wear a cup, even though she didn't need it. Our coach was livid when he found out that some of his starting players were not able to be selected due to the forced inclusion of the girls. Granted, some were good, but many were not, and that put a damper on the team's chances of winning. I was one of the boys displaced by a girl, one that wasn't as good as I was, but was forced on the coach by the district council. Sullen and dejected, I looked forward to watching from the stands, and couldn't do a darn thing about it. 3 days after I was notified, the coach appeared on my front porch. Dad let him in, then while my parents and I listened, the coach, with a huge grin on his face, suggested a way to sort of even the score. Shocked at what he had suggested, I was ready to say no way almost immediately, but Mom put her hand on my knee as a sign for me to be quiet. Since the law requires equal opportunity, it follows that the law goes both ways, which means that boys can apply, then try out for any of the girls' teams, and better, there isn't a thing they can do to stop it from happening. Let me get this straight, Dad said. You're suggesting that our son try out for a girls' team? Why not? The law requires equality, so why not do to them what they did to us? To him? Mom started giggling, looked at me and Dad, then said, yes, of course, why not? It was so outlandish that it might work, only I had no wish to play on a girls' team. But if I didn't, I would be in the stands for sure. My father had been against co-ed teams all along, so it didn't take him very long to decide that maybe the coach was right. Looking at me, he asked which teams were still testing. Their volleyball team, soccer of course, the swim team, and their Tiny Tot softball. Well, Dad said, Tiny Tot is out, but the rest. Dad, you want to play or not? Yeah, but we'll talk about it. Maybe he'll do just what you suggest. Maybe those Libyers will understand it better if they get a dose of their own medicine. The coach left, leaving me wondering just what the hell I was going to do. I could play volleyball, but that didn't thrill me, and soccer might have been okay, if I knew how to play, that is. That left swimming. As an avid swimmer, I knew all the strokes and could keep up with any girl, only. If I went out for their swim team, would I have to wear a girl's bathing suit? I have no idea, honey, maybe, why? All it does is cover you up. It doesn't mean anything, and since everyone would know you're a boy, why worry about it? The next day Mom and I went to the pool for the tryouts, and I found myself in a sea of girls, all wanting to be on the team. At registration, the lady got all flustered, called the head of the program, and when she showed up, demanded to know why we were there. When Mom quietly explained the new law and its resulting in my not being able to compete with the guys, she made it clear that if the girls could be on boys' teams, boys could be on the girls' teams, and there wasn't a thing she could do about it. The woman didn't like it, but she knew about the furor over the new law, and also knew that she could not refuse to let me try out. I changed in the locker room, then went out and posted the best times all day. I was with Mom, sitting in the stands as the number was whittled down to 18. Out of that they would select 12. We saw her coming, and waited for her to try and talk me out of it. There have been 9 complaints about your son. Not that he cannot be on the team, but that he isn't wearing the same type of suit the girls are. As you know, the extra material causes a drag in the water, and they are demanding that you try out again, only wearing the same type of suit the girls do. If you qualify, fine. You'll be on the team, but only if you do as I ask. We're not prepared to do that right now. Perhaps tomorrow? Of course. Tomorrow will be fine. 10? We'll be here. On the way out I told Mom, or rather made it clear, that I didn't want to wear a girl's suit, but she told me that I didn't have a choice, unless I wanted to spend the summer not on a team of any kind. It was on the way home that Mom embarrassed me to death. She stopped at a store, took me inside, then actually had me try on 3 different suits. When she, and I stress she, was satisfied, we went home. The next morning I went to change into the suit, using the boys' locker room of course, then had to parade across the tile floor to the starting line. It might not have been so bad, except all 18 of the other girls were there watching, laughing at me when they saw me in that suit. At the whistle, I dove in, then posted even better times than the day before. Soaking wet, I stood next to Mom as the lady coach, who was thoroughly pissed, announced that I was on the team. I didn't know if I should have been glad or not. When all 12 were selected. Okay girls, and boy, you are the team. Here is a copy of the practice and event schedule. Then, looking right at me, we will have our annual get-together dinner on the Friday night after the competition, and I'm sure that you all know the rules, but I'll go over them again. Our sponsors will expect all of us to wear our best dresses, since they will be supplying the boys as our escorts. So, get out those nice dresses, and plan on having a great time. Excuse me, Mom said. What about my son? As you, the lady said wickedly, have pointed out, Title X only allows for co-ed sports. It does not change any of the rules, and I'll point to those girls that are now wearing cups as an example. If you read the rules, you'll see that all members of this team are required to dress in accordance to rules, one of which is that they shall wear dresses or skirts to and from each event, as well as all dinners and such other events that may occur. I take that to mean that your son will be required to either quit or follow the rules. It's all clearly spelled out on page 9 of the rule book. I looked at Mom horror-struck. Me? In a dress? Mom thanked her, took the rule book, then told me change. I could hear the girls laughing behind my back. By the time I met Mom, I was really heated up, and told her that I wasn't going to do it. She didn't say anything about it until we got home and had read the rule book herself. Then she told Dad. At first he was sour, then he started to laugh. This law has turned everything upside down, you know that, but the only way to change these foolish rules is to follow them and show everyone just how stupid they are. They're making those girls follow the rules, so this lady is clearly correct in demanding that you do the same, and while it sounds stupid, it might just be the way to change the law. She is really hoping that you don't do it, that way she can toss you off the team and be perfectly within her rights. What you need to do is. You went, Mom said, out that one year as a little girl, and you looked just adorable. Maybe. I don't want to wear a dress, Dad. Then she'll throw you off the team, and I can't do a thing about it. You want me to do this, don't you? I want you to help change the law. By wearing a dress. If that's what it takes. The guys will laugh me right out of town. Maybe not. They don't like having girls on the team, do they? No, but. So maybe they'll understand why you're doing it. I'll get some measurements, then we'll get you all fixed up, Mom said with a grin. It was just after lunch when Mom returned from shopping. Taking me into my room, she told me to strip, then it began. First came the panties, which had a floral print, then a small tight bra which she stuffed with a small blob of pink jelly. Telling me that my hair needed work, she went about helping me get into pantyhose, then a slip, followed by a dress that she said was a sheath, and finally, a pair of girls' shoes. Just a touch of makeup, Mom told me, then began to apply it. When she was done, she brushed out my hair the best she could before she clipped on some earrings. Go look in the mirror, honey. Other than your hair, you're just darling. It was bad. No, it was worse than bad. I looked like Jill, the girl that lived across the street. I even had small boobs and long legs. Telling me that my hair needed more work than she was capable of, Mom told me that we were going to take a quick drive to her beauty shop to get my hair trimmed to be more like a girl's, yet still be able to brush it like a boy. Still shocked by the way I looked, I let Mom take my hand, and I soon found myself headed for the front door, before I finally resisted. You have to do this in order to stay on the team, honey, you know that. If you don't want to make your point, then I'll help you change. Otherwise. That's when Jill saw me. I ran to the car and got in. A little over an hour later we returned home, my hair styled like a girl's, and set in place like cement. Jill was sitting on our front porch. Oh, look, Jill is here. Mom, she'll see me. So? You look just fine. Just tell her why you're all dolled up. I'm sure she'll understand. Yeah, when pigs fly, Mom. The minute I got out of the car, Jill was right there. Molly says that you're on her swim team and that you have to dress like a girl or get kicked off. Is that why you're wearing a dress? Yeah. Some kind of stupid law was passed. You look cute as a girl, and besides, Robin is a girl's name too. My dad named me after Robin Hood. I'll bet my brother will think you're cute too. Yeah, whatever. I'm only doing this because I have to, not because I like it. Just then Dad came home and saw me for the first time. I went in the house with him, then stood there so he could see me. See? I told you I would look dorky. Aw, no, you look rather pretty to be truthful about it. Dad, dinner is ready, Mom said. Come out back, we'll eat outside. It felt strange to have my legs sticking out like that. I could still taste the lipstick, I had a girl's haircut, and even I knew that I looked pretty. I didn't think it couldn't get any worse, but it did. Just as we finished eating, Jill and her brother Phil, my best friend, walked up on the deck. I'll clean up, honey, you stay here with your friends. This because of that law? Phil asked. Yeah. I tried out for their swim team, and now I have to wear a dress. Some kind of stupid rule. At least you don't look like Marianne. Marianne is really nice, Jill said. She can't help the way she looks. I was going to walk over to Frank's. Want to come? Like this? Sure. Why not? It's only because of that law, right? It's not like you like wearing a dress, is it? Careful. Just joking. Let's go. Ask your mom if it's okay. Jill and I walked side by side, with Phil out front. Since I had to take shorter steps, I found myself in step with Jill, and after that it didn't take long before I was moving my arms like she was. It just felt easier with the shorter steps I was taking. Frank almost freaked out when he saw me, but he didn't laugh. Instead, he almost fell all over himself, making room for me to sit down. The three of us talked about what was happening, but Frank, well, he sort of put his foot in it, and would regret it later that summer. At least you're pretty. I mean, if you have to dress like a girl, being pretty is better. Robin looks like she looks, Frank, Phil said calmly. Yeah, like Marianne, retorted Jill. Oh no, not like Marianne, she'd scare a tree. Frank said that. You guys. Stop it. Come on, Robin, let's go home. Wait a minute. I'll walk along with you. I still don't know how Frank managed it, but I found myself next to him, with Jill and Phil just in front of us. When we got to my house, Mom told me to come in, and when I did, I saw the lady that insisted that I wear a dress. She took one look and sighed. I didn't think you would do it. As you can see, Robin has turned out to be a very pretty girl. Yes, I see that. I suppose this means that she will adhere to all of the rules? Except one, Mom said, for obvious reasons. Robin does not need to use or take any of the sanitary precautions that girls do. I don't think you can enforce that rule even for the girls, but in any case, since Robin does not suffer from periods, she does not need to take those precautions. Since you have accepted the rest of the rules, I suppose you're right about that one. I'll not make an issue of it. I did come here tonight to invite all of you to a get-together at my home tomorrow. It will be casual. Here's a map. Come over about 2? That'll be fine, thank you. Mom let her out, then turned to face me. It looks like we have some more shopping to do. Obviously you'll need more underwear, and a few different skirts and tops and shoes, so why don't we go first thing in the morning? We'll be back in plenty of time for you to change. Dad, while knowing why, still seemed to be in shock every time he looked at me, but when Mom and I came home after shopping and I changed, well, he really went into shock. I wore shorts that were a bit tight with a white tee that had a heart sewn on it in glitter, my boobs were a bit bigger, and my makeup better. I also had painted nails. See, Mom had decided that I had to look as normal as possible, so we had gotten new boobs as well as having my nails painted. When we were ready, Dad drove us to the house. The girls that were there just stared when they saw me, confident that I wouldn't wear anything remotely close to what a girl would wear, yet there I stood, looking just like they did, right down to the haircut. "You look," Greta started to say. "She looks great, Greta. Better than some girls I know," said Marilyn. "Let's get something to drink." I saw my parents drift to a table full of adults while I stayed with the girls. We ranged in ages from 12 to 14, with most around 14. Some of the girls had bigger boobs, but most were like me, a full size, Mom told me. They all knew that I was a guy, but before long we were all messing around together, and they forgot, I guess. Probably because I looked like them. They talked about dolls and boys, but I only jumped in when it got to clothes and school. Then they started talking about which boy they liked, and which boy liked them. When it got to me, they all sort of stared for a minute, then I said the first thing that came to mind. "Frank likes me, I think. He walked me home last night anyway." "Did he try to kiss you?" "No. He will, they all do." "Or try," another girl added. "You look better than I thought you would, Robin." "Scared me too, when I first saw myself this way, that is." "You got a girl's haircut too." "Mom said it would be easier to take care of." We ate hot dogs and talked some more, and I was accepted into the group as one of them, completely ignoring the fact that I really wasn't one of them. I made friends with Kelly and Greta, and we traded numbers before we went home. I was excited, and didn't even think about how I was dressed because it seemed unimportant to me for some reason. The next day we had a practice, so I wore the denim skirt and a tee, changing in the boys' locker room again, but that time I folded myself so it wasn't so obvious, and when I walked out, I still had boobs, and there wasn't one sign that I wasn't a girl. We practiced for almost 2 hours before we quit for the day. Mom was waiting for me as a bunch of us walked out, then, "Can you come to my house, Robin? Spend the afternoon?" It was Greta. "Can I, Mom? I suppose it'll be all right. Be home by 6, okay?" "Sure. Thanks, Mom." Greta was Frank's cousin or something, but she didn't say a word about that until we were alone in her bedroom, and even then it was just a passing thing. Greta was one of the healthier girls, meaning bigger, which I saw myself when she suddenly pulled her top off and slipped out of her skirt. Shorts and a tee later, my mind was still reeling at what I had seen, but she acted as if it were perfectly normal. My body was trying to react like it should, but I was still folded up, so it was no go, but my mind was really working on it. "Frank likes you. Did you know that? More than just walking you home, I mean." "Yeah, well, he's going to be out of luck, Greta." "You sure about that, Robin? I mean, you already look, sound and act like a girl, you're pretty, and since we practice almost every day, won't that mean that you'll be dressing this way all summer? And if that's the case, then why not play him along? He's not so bad for a guy, and kinda cute too." "But I'm not." "Yes you are, you just don't know it yet, but we can tell." "All of us agree, Robin, you like being a girl, so why not take that last step?" "I don't like being a girl, it's because of that law." "Right. Okay, if you say so, but we don't believe it." "We?" "The rest of the team." Greta did her best to get me to admit that I liked being a girl, but I wouldn't do that. Her mom took me home just before 6. Practice was almost the same every day, and at the end of 2 weeks, we had our first competition. Phil and Frank, along with some other guys, always came to watch us practice, which only gave Greta more ammunition to use on me. Most of the guys that came to watch us were almost always watching one girl in particular, and Greta let it be known that Frank was watching me. Since I wasn't really a girl, I did my best to ignore him. Just before the heat, I saw him climbing into the stands as I slipped into the boys like always. I changed, then slipped back out, joining the girls as we lined up to start. My best event was the butterfly, which I won by just a hair. Later, after we had all changed, and just as they started to hand out the trophies, there was a protest. Someone had heard that I was a boy, which, they said, meant that competing against girls couldn't be fair. That was plain silly since I only won by an eyelash. A lot of people read the law, then the rule book, and finally, the news got a grip on the story, which is when everything hit the fan. I got the trophy, but I also got my picture on the news and in the paper, and life was never the same after that. Everyone said that I looked like a girl, and the rumors started that I really was a girl but playing a boy to test the law. Then again, there were those that didn't like it at all, and that was scary when we started to get hate mail. Dad had me back dressing as a guy the next day, but to tell the truth, it felt odd in a way, to be wearing shorts without a bra and panties, all folded back to look like a girl. But Dad wasn't a quitter, and wasn't going to have me run out off the team by some people that he said were nuts. That's why I was back as a girl the next day. As the temperature rose due to the press coverage, a new person emerged on the scene. Let's call him the Reverend Goody Two Shoes, GTS for short. He began his tirade by saying that he wondered how safe the girls were, what with me on the team, and being a boy, well, nature would take its course and all that. Or maybe, it wasn't the girls he should worry about, but the boys as well. By dressing as a girl, he wondered out loud if I were attracted to boys, trying to corrupt them. My dad was livid with anger, but free speech being what it is, couldn't do a thing about it. As for me, I was caught in the middle of this whirlwind with no place to turn. Everyone I knew, in fact most people nationally, had heard about me, seen my picture, and had an opinion. I was ready to quit myself when our coach came to the house and pleaded with me not to quit. She said that I had done this to make a point, and if I wanted to change things, then I had to stay. My parents, specifically my dad, also told me I should stay the course, but allowed me to decide for myself. Then it was announced that GTS would be at the next practice. As I wondered whether I should go, Greta, Phil, Frank, and most of my team called to urge me to go, then tell GTS to take a hike. Easy to say, hard to do. On the morning of the practice, Mom and I spent a little more time getting me ready. Mom gave me a brand new pleated navy skirt with a white blouse to wear, telling me that I needed it to feel good about myself. Then she glued those small breast forms to my chest before she left so I could get ready. I dreaded what was going to happen, but Dad had taken the day off, telling me he would be there to handle the good reverend if need be. As I walked into the facility, I looked up in the stands and saw that almost every single person there was wearing a pleated navy skirt with a white blouse, including Frank, Phil, a few fathers, and all the women. The coach had me sit in the stands as we waited for GTS to show up. When he did, everyone stood up. Walking, actually strutting to the middle of the stands. "Who is this Robin?" he asked loudly. "I am," came a deep voice. "No. I am, it was philosophy me," said a girl. It was like that for almost 20 minutes as a number of people stood up and declared themselves to be me, and GTS was becoming very frustrated. He never did pick me out of the crowd, and in anger, he started what became a sermon on the vile actions taken by the team, my family, supporters, then specifically, me. Some guy wearing a skirt and blouse walked out of the stands and came face to face with GTS. "You don't belong here. I have the right," bellowed GTS. "To destroy a child? To correct and help this child return to the right path. To get yourself in the paper, isn't that more accurate? I am doing nothing but interfering with our challenge to this ridiculous law. It's not my law. My law is from a higher source. Take your skinny ass out of here, Reverend, or learn to swim." "Are you threatening me?" "You bet. I am Robin, we are all Robin. You don't belong here. Now go before I really get angry." Well, the film crews got it all, and that night GTS was roasted on national television. We never did practice that day, but a lot of my friends, still wearing skirts, came to our house. Phil looked like he was wearing a kilt, Frank was the hairiest guy I had ever seen, and some of the other guys wearing skirts didn't seem to mind a bit. I was overwhelmed at what had happened, and didn't know what to say or do. Mom and a few other ladies made a picnic lunch for us, and we sat around talking about what GTS was going to do next. Nobody knew, except we all knew it was going to be memorable. It was on the news the next day. GTS had filed suit in order to halt my participation on the swim team, and because of the volatile nature of the problem, the case was being heard the very next day. I got my subpoena, as did my parents, that very day. My parents were so hot that they decided to do something really crazy. Mom took me to her beauty shop the next morning, and after they closed the shop, I was given a complete makeover from head to toe. Mom paced back and forth in anger while they removed every bit of hair on my body below my eyes, cut and styled my hair, did my makeup, nails, and toes before Mom took me home. I felt good about the way I looked, which was way better than ever before. Dad didn't say a word when he saw Mom and I head into my bedroom. I bought this the other day. I was thinking you might wear it at the annual dinner, but now might be a better time. Let's get you undressed, then we'll get you all fixed up. I went in the bath and taped myself down, then Mom helped me get dressed. By the time I stepped out of my bedroom, I did not look like a boy in any way, but the girl I had become. The dress was all white with eyelets, knee length, with short sleeves, a round neck, and a fitted bodice. Dainty gold earrings, a pendant charm, one of Mom's rings, and low white heels completed my ensemble. That's when Dad really stared. I had yet to say that I liked dressing as a girl, but there wasn't any way that I could deny that I was very pleased with the way I looked or felt when we left the house. As we walked into court, we were instantly surrounded by the press, but Dad pushed through them without a word. Then a court officer led us into the courtroom. It was noisy and crowded until the judge appeared. She was about the same age as my mom and not bad looking. She took control of the proceedings almost at once, calling my dad first. She listened to the reasons why I found myself in a dress and why he supported it, then Mom, followed by our coach as well as the coaches from several other teams that had been affected by the new rules. Then GTS was called to testify. He railed against almost everything, calling me a travesty, hinted that I was only dressing as a girl so I could see other girls naked, or maybe attract a boy. Sitting so I could see her, I saw the judge's eyebrows furrow when he said that, and had the thought that maybe he had just made a mistake. The judge asked him, "You are not a resident of the state, are you, sir?" "No. But this law affects the entire country, so why are you here and not somewhere else?" "Because this child is being forced into a life that can only lead in the wrong direction, and it is my duty to correct that." "I see. You don't believe that the parents are capable of managing the situation?" "Obviously they are not." "Okay, let's have Robin up here." "Thank you, sir." My testimony started at the very beginning and went all the way to my sitting there. Questions about the way I looked, how I felt about dressing as a girl, and so on came one after the other as GTS's lawyer went on the attack. The incident when Greta changed clothes in my presence, how my friends reacted when they saw me, and how I felt about having to appear in court as a girl. The last one got me, and I finally lashed out. I only did this to show how dumb it is to force boys and girls to play on each other's teams. And yes, I like the way I look. I didn't like it at first, but I don't mind it now, and none of my friends have ever said anything against what I was doing because they know why. He started in on me again, but the judge stopped him. "I think that's enough of that, sir. You may step down, Robin." The judge sat there for a moment, then, as I see it, the biggest concern here is that Robin is not a girl, even though it's plain that the average person could not pick her out of a crowd as a boy wearing a dress. The law is clear, and I cannot change that. However, if Robin's status is defined by a name, I can and will fix that right now. The judge had harsh, ugly words for GTS, berating him for causing me so much embarrassment, throwing the entire sports network into turmoil, then using innuendo to cast me in a bad light when it was clear that every precaution had been made to separate me from the real girls when we changed for our events. She called him a carpetbagger of courtroom theatrics with only one aim, to get his name in the papers. He got trashed real bad before she turned to me and asked me to stand up. My parents, one on each side, stood with me. Inasmuch as you have committed no crime other than trying to right what you see as a wrong, and given the fact that the only impediment to your continuing as you are is what you are called, I am hereby ordering that you be given the full rights and obligations of a girl, and I declare that she'll be known as a girl until this court orders differently. I sat there unsure of what that all meant, but I heard Mom take a deep breath and saw her eyes go wide, so I knew that something was really bothering her. GTS and his band of followers left the courthouse first, leaving out the front to face the cameras. The officer that showed us in also showed us out a back way, and we were able to avoid the glare of publicity. By the time we got home, Mom was in a really agitated state, which grew worse the minute Dad flicked on the news. A talking head said, the effect of this ruling, and with the judge ruling that Robin is legally a girl, means that from now on, she will be considered a girl on every occasion, such as when she returns to school. Even if Robin adopts the role of a boy, she will still, legally, be a girl. Dad looked at Mom, then me, then he got it. He flopped in his favorite chair, and said, "Well, it looks like we have a daughter now. Dad, this ruling means that the schools will have no choice but to demand that as a girl, you meet the dress code for girls, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a skirt and blouse, or a dress of some kind. Congratulations, Robin, you're now a girl." Damn it! Going back to court would only feed that reverend's argument, Mom said quickly, and we cannot allow that to happen, Robin. A lot of people have supported us, and we just can't ask the courts to change that ruling, not now. Mom looked at me a moment, then, I guess having a daughter won't be so different than the last few months, and you do seem to have adapted really well, so let's just make the best of it and go on from here. Does this mean that I have to dress like a girl all the time? Yes, dear, it does. Okay. You sound like you want to do this, Robin. Well, I see, Mom said. Then maybe we should just get used to the idea that we have a daughter now, and do the best we can. And you, she said looking at me, will find that being a girl isn't all that you think it is. You better go change, and hang up the dress this time. From that day on, Mom wouldn't let me dress as a boy, insisting that I had to follow the court's order, so in time, I became adept at doing my own hair and makeup as well as learning how to act like a girl. I somehow knew that if I didn't it would have been a travesty, and I would have become a joke. Greta, Jill and I became very close friends, while Frank discovered that Megan suited him just fine as a girlfriend. When I started school, they already knew what was going on, so I was enrolled as a girl, and just like Dad said, they enforced the dress code. I never hid the fact that I was a boy, but I didn't broadcast it either, and I fit right in with the girls. While a few still harbored doubts about me, for the most part one was left alone and allowed to be the person I not only looked like, but was becoming. Dad's initial reaction dulled, and eventually he came to accept the fact that I was his daughter, which was very embarrassing a few times, like when he came into my room to find me naked. Since I had mastered the art of folding and hiding myself, I always looked like a girl down there, and that shook Dad a lot. When my beard started to come out, Mom set me up to have it removed, so nobody ever saw me with any facial hair. It wasn't until 2 years later when I was 16 that my parents would let me even think about dating, but most of the girls were in the same boat, so it didn't matter too much. By then nobody cared, or maybe remembered, that under the skirt I was really a boy, but mostly it was because I had evolved into a young woman. Nobody ever heard from GTS again, and the furor over what had happened quickly died away. That's when I was able to meld into the group that knew me best, as the girl I had become. Surprising me, it was Phil that asked me out for the first time. He had grown real tall, and like most brothers, was very protective of Jill, and by default, me as well. It was not as traumatic as I thought it would be when he kissed me goodnight, but it confirmed, to me at least, that I had become a girl, even if it was to prove a point to start with. Now I have other points to prove, and as a girl, I intend to prove that I am worthy of the title.